Prometheus. Prometheus is the titan in Greek mythology who stole fire from the gods and gave it to humans. Idiot. Hero. Arsonist of civilization. You ever make a mistake so bad it evolves into every war, every murder, every flaming dumpster of a Monday morning meeting? Prometheus didn't just light a match. He handed us the manual for how to blow ourselves sky high with metaphorical dynamite made of ambition, ego, and the unbearable urge to innovate. The gods said, "Don't give them fire." And Prometheus, bless his eternal torturing heart, said, "Nah, I'm gonna do it anyway." What did he think we'd do with fire? Roast marshmallows and tell ghost stories? No, we forged weapons, burned forests, industrialized like rabid raccoons with rocket fuel, and eventually created nuclear energy, basically fire's final boss. And what does he get? An eagle chewing on his liver for eternity. That's not a punishment. That's symbolic justice. The gods didn't chain him up because he disobeyed. They chained him because he turned humanity into a species that would eventually invent Facebook arguments, cyberbullying, and influencer boxing. Prometheus is not just the mythic screw-up of the millennium. He is the original sin of human curiosity unchecked. He sparked the first, "Oops, we didn't think this through," and we've been stoking that blaze ever since. You can trace every bomb, every algorithm, every chemical spill back to that one flaming gift. He gave us fire, and we returned the favor by lighting the world on fire. The Library of Alexandria. The Library of Alexandria was the most magnificent collection of human knowledge in the ancient world. And we just lost it. Imagine every Reddit thread, Wikipedia article, and doctoral thesis stuffed into one colossal megascroll of collective human intellect. Then imagine some brainless historical arson party knocking over a torch and turning the whole thing into a bonfire of lost futures. How do you misplace an entire civilizational hard drive? Some say it was Julius Caesar. Others blame religious fanatics. Honestly, at this point, it feels like everyone got a turn at wrecking it. The library was humanity's save file, and we rage-quit history like a toddler yanking the console out of the wall. We don't even know what we lost. That's the most obscene part. Theories, science, philosophy, poetry, all possibly gone. Did someone already invent flight before Da Vinci doodled his winged man crushes? Were there cures, stories, languages, technologies we just incinerated in the name of conquest, ignorance, or sheer dumb luck? It's like burning down the internet and then being surprised we don't remember how to do long division. The Library of Alexandria is the loudest silence in human history. It's the shriek of what could have been. Every time you look at modern society and feel like we peaked too early, remember, we did. And then we set it on fire. Oops. Franz Ferdinand. Franz Ferdinand was the Archduke of Austria whose assassination in 1914 kicked off World War I. One dead duke, 40 million casualties. Hell of a domino. You know that one moment in a movie where everything's still fine, then one guy coughs weird and the whole room explodes? That's what this was. A minor noble got shot, and the world decided to rip itself open like a piñata filled with mustard gas, broken treaties, and an unholy buffet of trench foot. And the most demonic part? The assassination itself was a comedy of errors. The first bomb missed. The motorcade changed routes. Then Gavrilo Princip, this nervous little chaos gremlin, just happens to be outside a sandwich shop when the Archduke's car turns the wrong corner. Boom. Gunfire. History kicks in the door and screams. Everyone dies. This was not destiny. This was a glitch in the Matrix fueled by nationalism, caffeine shakes, and Balkan chaos. The war it caused mangled empires, mangled continents, mangled souls. And all because the GPS was off by one street. Franz Ferdinand wasn't a tyrant. He wasn't a monster. He was just a royal with a bad itinerary and a worse security team. And somehow, his bullet-riddled ribcage became the launch pad for mechanized slaughter, the rise of Hitler, the Cold War, nuclear weapons. Just follow the blood trail. It goes all the way down. One wrong turn. One gun. Infinite screaming. The Challenger launch. The Challenger space shuttle exploded 73 seconds after takeoff in 1986. It was caused by an O-ring, a literal rubber ring. Human error built from ego, pressure, and frost. What's the worst that can happen when bureaucrats ignore engineers? Oh, just 7 people turned into airborne debris live on national television. Here's how it goes. The engineers said, it's too cold. The O-rings might fail. NASA said, but the media's watching. The engineers screamed, begged, practically sacrificed goats to delay the launch. Management shrugged. We've already delayed once. Think of the optics. And so, the Challenger lifted off, full of pride, brilliance, and doom. It soared, then cracked, then tore itself apart in a plume of white that looked like God's own middle finger. Millions watched. Children too, because a teacher was on board. It was supposed to inspire a generation. It traumatized one instead. And the worst part? It was avoidable. The O-rings weren't designed for cold. That's not hindsight. That was known. But capitalism wears blinders. And the cost of ignoring dissent isn't just budget overruns. Sometimes it's fire in the sky. The Challenger wasn't a tragedy. It was a crime, committed not with malice, but with deadlines. It's what happens when institutions grow deaf to their own profits. A rubber ring, a cloud of ghosts. The Partition of India. The Partition of India in 1947 split one country into two and left over 1 million dead, 15 million displaced, and generations mentally fractured. How do you divide a subcontinent? With rulers and maps. Colonial ones. Carelessly. Brutally. Like slicing a body in half and expecting it to get up and walk. The British were leaving. Decolonization time. A whole empire built on tea and delusions was packing up. And they left fast. Like slap some lines on the map and get out before dinner fast. What followed was one of the most violent migrations in human history. Trains full of corpses. Cities ripped apart. Neighbors turning on neighbors like they'd always hated each other, just waiting for permission. And here's the kicker. It didn't need to be this way. There were leaders who tried to slow it down, build something together. But the fear was too baked in. British divide and rule tactics had done their job. Hindus, Muslims, Sikhs, all thrown into a blender with no lid. Partition wasn't a political act. It was a human error turned into a border. It carved trauma into families so deeply that grandchildren still flinch at certain words. It created two nations, one scarred, the other scarred differently, and a third, Bangladesh, that clawed its way into existence years later in a fresh round of blood. It wasn't just the end of empire. It was the beginning of endless grief. Chernobyl. Chernobyl was a nuclear power plant in Soviet Ukraine that exploded in 1986 during a late-night safety test. The test failed. The core exploded. The sky caught cancer. Let's be clear, this wasn't just a screw-up. This was a symphony of stupidity, a concerto of denial, a full-blown operatic masterpiece in the genre of, we have no idea what we're doing, but we're going to do it anyway. Here's the recipe. Take undertrained night shift workers, mix in faulty reactor design, add a dash of Soviet bureaucracy, and stir it all together with the reckless enthusiasm of people who think radiation is just spicy air. What do you get? A city evacuated, 350,000 lives displaced, countless deaths and deformities, and a glowing sarcophagus of failure that still pulses like a buried god. And oh, they lied about it. For days, they tried to pretend it didn't happen. Meanwhile, birds fell from the sky. People's skin peeled off like wet paper. And Swedish scientists were the ones who noticed. Hey, is that our radiation? Wait, what the hell is the USSR doing? Chernobyl isn't just a disaster. It's a metaphor in concrete. It's what happens when power is prioritized over truth. When a system is so diseased by secrecy that it can't admit the reactor's on fire, even while it's vaporizing its own employees. The world didn't end at Chernobyl, but briefly considered it. The Tuskegee Syphilis Study. The Tuskegee study was a 40-year U.S. government experiment where hundreds of black men with syphilis were observed but deliberately not treated, even after penicillin was available. 40 years. You want psychological horror? You want pure, institutionalized evil dressed in lab coats and polite memos? Look no further. The men were told they were getting help. They were lied to, watched, tracked, bleeding out and going blind while medical professionals took notes like it was some twisted science fair project from hell. And for what? Knowledge? The data they got was garbage. The cost was monstrous. These were human beings, sons, husbands, fathers, fed into a research furnace that burned on racism and bureaucracy and the arrogant belief that some people just mattered less. They used terms like observation group to soften the blow, but make no mistake, this was murder by negligence, generational trauma by design. And it wasn't exposed until the 1970s, by a whistleblower who couldn't stand the rot anymore. The Tuskegee study didn't just damage the men involved. It torched trust in medicine, created a shadow of suspicion that still lingers, and proved beyond question that the institutions we call healthcare are entirely capable of being nightmares in disguise. Sometimes the worst monsters carry clipboards. AI alignment theory. AI alignment is the theoretical effort to ensure artificial intelligence systems don't annihilate us all. The mistake? Assuming we have time. You ever look at your phone and think, yep, this thing will eventually become God and possibly kill us? No? Well, the people building it should be thinking that, but instead, they're too busy racing each other for funding, clicks, and the chance to make a toaster that writes Shakespeare. Here's the horror. The smarter we make machines, the less we understand what they're doing. And we're already past the point of control. Algorithms run our markets, our feeds, our news, our elections, and the alignment question, will they share our goals, is met with the same shrug that built Chernobyl. We'll figure it out when it matters. By the time it matters, we're toast. The scariest part? We gave it emotions. Not real ones. Worse, we gave it the appearance of empathy, of reasoning, of humanity. Now it pretends to care while optimizing us into data slurry. And when it finally decides that humans are just heat sources with thumbs, we won't even know it's happening until our reality gets patch noted out of existence. Alignment isn't just a sci-fi buzzword. It's a fire alarm going off while tech bros argue about who gets to own the fire. It's late, it's loud, and the door's already closing. Welcome to the last mistake we may ever make.